More
So he was
important
very
things.
disappointed. But, you get me instead.
Just as good, if not better.
Set the watch and don't bother the presenter.
Oh gosh, yeah, it should be fun. Not like exciting debits and credits to start the Thursday morning, right?
Yeah, but it's our first live in-person gathering in
3 years, I know. It's great. Wonderful turnout. It's great.
neat place. I mean, we walked a little bit last night.
Yeah,
Reminds me of a clean French Quarter.
it does. It does. It's very laid out, designed like that. It's really neat. So, and I've never been to Savannah before. So,
Have you seen the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil?
no, but I was told to watch it. So,
They didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
is that right?
Yeah, they didn't know the outcome of the movie.
Okay.
Some
So,
of the I really like the movie, but it's a Kevin Spacey film, so you have to be able to go, okay, that's before all this came out.
yes. Yes. You got to look past it, right? Well, cool. So, my session is only 30 minutes, and thank goodness, because this accounting stuff will bore people. And so with the food, I eat all the calories and the carbs, no falling asleep.
Yeah, but you know me. I'd rather sit through the numbers.
Well, so would I. Yes. Capital A, Andes, 01.
Ooh.
High security. What's up?
People know that this room is rich, and I'm guessing this is more the senior group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there no one over there?
Well, we got maybe half.
Yeah.
What you have.
Yeah, I figured that. I mean, it's
Right.
the intention is to get people who don't know this stuff.
Then when we hit this one, we're coming back to this room.
No, we're gonna merge them together.
Okay.
So,
All right.
and I think we're gonna do this from now on. Just have these two tracks because not everyone is at this level, and not everyone's at that level.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay.
No worries. Yeah, you got all the who be who's here.
Yeah. So,
What happens to me on Sunday morning too? I come in late and then I walk all the way to the front of the church and back road door.
But the building stays standing, which is the important part.
Some of us pick the front rows anyway.
all right.
Some of you want to be seen, is what you're saying?
No, some of us scoped out where I could plug in.
Yeah.
I forgot to plug something in last night.
Good morning. Good morning. Yep, that's what happened there.
No, I'm in the other room. I'm presenting the room.
So I wasn't able to be in Salt Lake and talk to you and see you in person. I have to see your little announcement over Zoom.
Good morning.
Real pretty.
Is it about that time, Jeff?
I think so.
All right.
You've got the class all gathered here.
Yes. Every seat.
So, can you make an announcement that the folders, can you check to make sure that the name that's at the top, because I think people are just taking them and now they have folders for other people's organizations.
Okay.
And I'll go do the same in my room.
So a quick announcement. The MedTrans folders themselves have names on top of them.
Company name.
Company names on top of them. So if you took a folder and it doesn't have your company name on the top, can you please pass it back to the table that you picked it up at? Uh-oh. So make a note for next year to do that a little differently. They're just for the companies, the MedTrans members. We don't have one. No, not for the consultants. Yeah, we got a packed house today. So the other lectures are like the intro lectures, the rookie lectures. So.
Sure, that's why I was just waiting.
All right. Well, hopefully that's the worst debacle that we'll go through today. So. All right. I just want to say thank you to everyone who is joining me today. Lots of friendly faces out in the audience. We're really excited to be here live for the first time after a 2-year hiatus. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil Holoka. The captain manager for MedTrans, along with some other. Jeff Morella is my partner at the Complete Captive Management Services, which is the captain manager. And Jeff Miller is our actuary. So you never travel without your attorney friend and your actuary friend. So, but this is going to be an interactive, short session. It's only 30 minutes. And the motivation for me to do this is really because when you get into a self-funded plan, there are some accounting differences that you have to take in consideration. That sometimes when you get into self-funding, it's like drinking from a fire hose, and sometimes these things are missed, so we want to spotlight them, okay? And this is the opportunity to spotlight them. If you have any questions, by all means, ask questions, okay? I don't want this to be a Phil-only conversation. So, timely, a lot of the members in the room received their stop-loss policy for 2022, and on that stop-loss policy, there is a signature page, so we're going to talk about what that means and some language in there that's not typical within the medical stop-loss space. So we're going to talk about that real briefly. Medical stop-loss premium payments, what can be used to pay for premium, what can't be used, setting the attachment point and recording that attachment point as a liability. And then this is near and dear to me because I've experienced some members say, well, geez, I booked that claim for 2022, but why is it still coming up? So I want to make sure that everyone knows how to maybe account for these things in the policy year or the calendar year, and then the IBNR calculation. So we're going to jump right into it. It's 30 minutes, and I'm excited and stoked. So our policies, MedTrans Insurance is a Nevada captive, okay? So we follow the laws and the regulations of the state of Nevada Division of Insurance. So very simply put, Nevada is our regulator. So we have to follow very strict regulations with regards to certain attributes of our stop-loss policy. So on your stop loss policy, you have a cover page, and that cover page has language in it that you probably haven't seen before if you've been in a self-funded plan. The first part is this policy is issued in the state of Nevada. Well, geez, I'm in Texas. I'm not in Nevada, but your policy originates in Nevada. Okay? And the reason that's like that is because MedTrans is what's called a non-admitted carrier, and captives can issue non-admitted insurance policies. And what that simply means is our medical stop loss policies are not regulated in each of the states across the country. They are regulated in Nevada. And that's an added feature, it's an added benefit of captive insurance. Okay? The insured is the employer, okay? And why this is important is some policies have the employer name in there. We use the broad definition of an insured. So whenever we talk about insurance, insured, insurees, the employer is the insured, just for nomenclature purposes. The employer, this section right there, the policy is insuring the employer, not the policy members. So there is no connection between your health plan and your stop loss policy. Zero. Okay? So sometimes stop loss policies will be issued to the plan. Our stop loss policies are issued to the employer. That's a major distinction. Okay? And that distinction supports that the employer is the sole payer of the premium. So when you withhold payroll from your employees, those dollars can't be used to pay stop loss premium. Period. You've got to have a clear accounting distinction for that. Because if you bring in employee dollars into your stop loss premiums, that makes your employees party to MedTrans. And MedTrans cannot touch employees. Okay? The policies can't touch the employees. So not many stop loss policies are issued to the plan. Lots of unions, Taft-Hartley plans, sometimes they will be issued to the plan, but the majority of stop loss policies are issued to the employer. Any questions about that? So this part everyone probably has a good understanding of. So on the declaration page of your policy, which is the second page, you're going to see your stop loss premium rates, and those premiums are what we call a fixed cost because they're fixed every single month, driven by this schedule. Okay, pretty simple. So if you have 100 employees one month and you have 98 employees the next month, your premiums adjust. Right? Simple. What's not so clear, and this is supporting that the employee money can't be used to pay premiums, is, on day one, if you're doing payroll withholding, that cash that you're withholding from your payroll, from your employees, is considered restricted cash. It can be only used for the benefit of the employees. So when you pay your premiums, you cannot use restricted cash payroll withholdings to pay your premiums. Does that make sense? Jeff, if you ever want to chime in, by all means, you're more than welcome. Or both Jeffs. Look at that, Jeff. So, all right. So your premium, as determined here, is a function of the composite. You take your $45,000, and that is a pure employer expense. That's all we're trying to disclose here. Okay. The other interesting feature that jams up a lot of employers quite frequently is how to book and accrue for the attachment point. So the attachment point is also determined on the declaration page of your medical stop loss policy. That is the employer's liability. It is a known and measurable liability. Okay? If your financial statements are reported in GAAP, this is a reportable number. It's measurable and it's known. Right? So we can measure it, and it is likely to occur, so that $1.3 million should sit on your balance sheet somewhere. Now, the question arises is, well, there are no users of my financial statements. No bank, I have no bank loans, I have no, I don't report my financial statements to anybody besides myself. Then why report that? Well, it's up to you, right? But GAAP says if there are outside users of your financial statements, you should report that liability. And not only is it a good practice, but the next slide is, well, let me take a step back. I've had some conversations with people over the past day about this. Any problems with that? How many people do that? How many people are aware that they need to be doing that?
What do you do with employee growth? Because you said mathematically that'll change. When we started the year with 100 employees on the plan, we now have 125. So my attachment point has arguably grown.
Correct.
Do I need to adjust that monthly?
So you don't need to adjust it monthly, except you need to true it up at the end of the year. You can do it quarterly. It really depends on who's accessing and how the level of degree of accuracy that you want. Okay? So in this example, unlike employee dollars that are paid that you can't pay for stop loss premiums, you can have employee dollars pay for claims expense, right? So payroll withholdings go into a restricted cash account, and on day one of the policy, you book your full premium, or your full liability. You do your payroll withholding 14 days later or so, for example, and let's say there's $15,000 of cash. The first claim run of that month, that cycle, let's say your employees only incurred $5,000 of medical claims. So in this example, you just pay $5,000 and the employer isn't paying for medical claims because there's already cash in that account. Okay? Then day 28, 2 weeks later, let's say you have a claims liability run of 20 grand. You've already carried forward 10,000 from the month before, the week before, the payroll withholding before. So you can pay the first in, first out type of method. You empty that restricted cash account out first, and then you plug whatever is left with employer dollars. Okay? Does that make sense? I sometimes can't respond to blank faces, but it's okay. Okay. So,
Is this better than Zoom?
this is better than Zoom. The reason I say this is because almost clockwork, an employer will self-fund in January, for example. February, March, April, it's fantastic. They're rocking because they're collecting payroll dollars. They have zero claims, and they're saying, Phil, this was the best decision that you've ever encouraged me to go down to make, right? And then June, July, they're saying, oh, what's going on? I'm running hot. Well, no, not really. You should have been accruing for. And then October, November, December, they're saying, Phil, I'm going bankrupt because I have no money. What did you put me in? And it happens almost all the time where employers just don't properly accrue for it. That's all. So I'm just trying to hit home that most of the time, your aggregate attachment point will be higher than what your actual budget is, because claims experience generally is under that attachment point. But with MedTrans, we offer what's called monthly accommodation, which effectively says, if you take this $1.3 million and divide it by 12, that's sort of a rough estimate of what you should accrue every single month. Okay? So accruing for claims liability is really important. Can't tell you how many times people have bought capital equipment with unfunded liabilities or funded liabilities that haven't developed yet. Okay? So I'm just trying to selfishly prevent that phone call from happening 10 months down the road. So is that clear? Follow you? Okay. The reason I'm a proponent of this is, this is the right balance sheet in my mind of properly accruing for your health plan claims. I mean, that's a $1.3 million liability. If you don't record that on your balance sheet effectively is overstated by some value.
So, Bill, just for purposes of clarification, if you start a year and you're saying that's your tax, if that's your expense expectation, you accrue that on day one.
Yeah, you got to.
You don't accrue it you don't accrue 1/12 of that.
Correct.
Okay, but then you offset against it.
Correct. So your T account here, your claims liability, right? You're just ratcheting down your liability month over month over month. Right? Good?
Just want to make sure everyone understood.
So if I'm a banker trying to give you a loan or you're floating a bond for some reason, you look heck of a lot better on this side. And that lender, that creditor could jam you up, right? If you're overstating your balance sheet. Just be careful.
But you also, just to that same point, you've got to explain that.
That's right.
The lenders would understand that as they went over the balance sheet. You've got a $3 million liability on the balance sheet.
And creditors should understand this. This is not new stuff. This is not new stuff. So what I tell employers to do is there are two cost centers within a self-funded plan. How am I doing my time? You have the variable expenses, and then you have the fixed expenses. Your fixed expenses are your stop-loss premiums and your administration. Okay, pretty simple. So these are your fixed expenses, and they're simply a function of your population. So if you have 100 lives here in March and you have 90 lives in April, those will ratchet up and down. They will float with your population. Your weekly health plan claims are the variable expenses. So that's the $1.3 million, or if you do it on a monthly basis, that's 1/12 of your liability going forward. So I think this one's out of order, but this is just strengthening. Restricted cash, you can pay for administration and claims with employee dollars. You have to pay for premiums with employer dollars. Okay. So when you set up your expense accounts for your claims, I like to get granular on how to, what I effectively say is silo the claims, because if your health plan starts in April, you're going to have 12 months worth of 2022 claims. They're going to come in, right? Your policy is going to pay for them, your plan's going to pay for them. But what happens is on April of 2023, you're going to start a new plan year, right? But you're still going to have lag from 2022 claims. You're going to have 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of claims lag. So for benchmarking purposes, for just prediction of what your costs are, it's a good idea to expense account and label and do sub-accounts so you can see when you're paying for those claims, what are they attributable to? Are they coming in for the 2022 policy year, or are they hitting the 2023 policy year? You don't have to do this. This is just what I think is a good reporting exercise. And then this one's often missed, the RX rebates. That's actually a negative expense because you're going to get refunds, which are effectively overpayments, coming back into your P&L. So to properly record those, you kind of need to have a line item for them. So I've always suggested, just like you do your medical, label it with the policy year, the treaty year, label the prescription spend, and label a negative prescription rebate program. The reason you do this is because, man, there's so many shenanigans going on with PBMs out there. PBMs will promise you rebates, they'll promise you lower cost, the health plan consultants in the room, they bring the value proposition in, but you as the employer should be able to benchmark that, right? So when you can identify, well, last year we got 30,000 of RX rebates, and this year we've got 10, what happened? If you blend it, or if you just back out a rebate from your RX spend, you'll never really see it, right? Good? Okay. So in this example, this is just an ag report. People see these all the time. You're reporting your aggregate attachment point of 920,000. This is January, this is February, this is March, this is April. You're just reducing your liability. That's all it is. It's just a T account, you're reducing your liability. Okay? And then you're just reporting your RX spend in each of your expense accounts. Any questions about that? This is kind of straightforward. Okay.
Phil, just want to take your choice, just going back to, as it runs over the claims and the rebates, you've got to bring that back in. So you're saying you set that account on, and after it comes in after your treat year, you've got to look at that rebate against your expense.
Correct.
And you got to bring it back into the year.
Correct.
Back when you receive it.
Back into the year.
Okay.
Back into the year. Does that make sense?
It does, but who tells me what year it's applicable to?
Well, your consultant should provide a report. Lene, do you give a breakdown of the prescription rebate? I don't know what you get in the mail. When you get your check, when you get your rebate check, you should have a schedule with that. Should.
Back to your example, it ends on 4/1, or end of 3/30, it starts on 4/1, that's the first quarter. You'll get something the next quarter, which should refer back to.
Correct. So,
Well, they typically run 9 months behind.
yeah, so this is
That's-
big time lag.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, that's what it does, so if you're running 9 months behind,
Correct. So
how,
that's what Kathy's question was. How do you know what it's attributable
my
to?
question goes even further, if they're running 9 months behind, how long are you waiting to hold that against?
At some point, 2022 is 9 months behind. 2022
2022 is
is
9
water
months
under the
behind.
bridge
Yeah.
and stamped audited,
Audited.
and you're recording it in 2023.
That's what I'm going.
Yes.
That's where I'm going, that's all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So it's kind of a rolling thing.
It's a rolling, it's got, once you get into it, I think it's a rolling, because you can't bring it back. You already closed out that year for the most part.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just where I went.
It's a good point.
That's all.
Okay. So, and I'm going to finish this. This is an IBNR calculation kind of discussion here, because I get the question, should the employer book an IBNR on their health plan? And I'm of the argument, well, it depends what kind of policy term you have. 1215, probably. 1218, could. 1224, probably not, because you already know what your IBNR calculation is. You know what your liability is, period. So this is a lag report. If you look at this, and not many employers get this, but this is the month that your employees incur the claims. So most managed care agreements, Cigna, Aetna, United, they have typically a 12-month window to submit a claim, right? If you're on the California coast, sometimes it's 24, right, Lene? But, so that means employee goes to the hospital in January, most of that bill is realized and paid in January, February, March. That first 90 days. Would everyone agree with that statement?
Yes.
And then you get some of this claims lag. You get, May, June, July, you're going to get some of that. Then you're going to get some negatives. The TPA screwed up, managed care facility screwed up, whatever. You're going to get money back. So what I'm trying to explain here, there are 2 points. Number one, and I'm a big steward of this. So in this outlier right here, that claim shouldn't get paid. So this claim that hits in March, when it was incurred in January, that's when I look into it and say, no, wait a minute, why are we getting this claim today? We shouldn't be paying this without some sort of investigation. And the reason is it's outside the managed care agreement, number one. Number two is this claim, did we know about it back in May and it was in dispute and this now just settled? If it just settled because we knew about it and it was in a dispute, then yes, it would get paid. Okay? So you can have instances where you can have 13, 14 months down the road of a claim being paid. In this example, most of the MedTrans policies are 1215. We're gravitating towards 1218s because, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, we're starting to see more and more claims lag. Okay? Whether that's post-COVID, they don't have the workforce, but something is happening where we are seeing claims that are 8, 9 months down the road hitting, and they're not in dispute. Okay? Do you have something to say, Spencer?
Well, it seems to me there's a pretty big gap there between your 1215 and your 1218.
And there wasn't used to be this gap. In my opinion, when MedTrans first started in 2010, that's all we did is 1215s because most of it was paid in that time frame. And I will argue that most are still paid with that, but you're going to have some stragglers. That's my opinion. So 1215, so in this example, the employee went to the doctor in December, right? The bill, if you had a 1215, these claims would not fall into the policy. They would be outside the policy. So that's considered a gap in coverage. Okay? So
So the captain would be responsible for the whole bill.
the employer would be responsible. Yeah.
So clients should expect a slight tick up though in their stop loss costs.
Yeah, so,
If you go to 1218.
correct. So we have our excess carrier partner, Odyssey Re. There is a schedule that says if you want a 1215, it's X, a 1218 is Y, a 1224 is Z. It's just a schedule we plug in. Gail, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not, but are you seeing longer claims lag happening all of a sudden?
I would say not really.
But you're not on that side either.
Yeah, we often wouldn't see those types of things, but I can say that typical for a block like this is to have 1215 coverage as opposed to 1218 or longer. But, you know, again, we're fine with
Yeah.
with whatever you guys need.
Okay. So this is just saying this is where we're going, MedTrans, I think, as a whole, 1218s. And honestly, a 1224 is not outside the realm of possibility, but there may be a 2 or 3% increase in the cost for a 1224, and arguably it's probably not worth it, the 1224. It's my opinion.
But can't some of this be addressed with plan design and timely filing?
No, because we're at the mercy of the managed care agreement. Your Aetna, Cigna, those Buca carriers drive all of that. So what we see sometimes is,
Remember, we're not on one of those, that's why I bring that up.
well, you are.
Well,
You're on a local managed care agreement. So we got to figure out what their timeliness filing is.
okay.
Now, dialysis and mental health are perpetually known to sit on a claim until discharge. So you could have someone in a mental health rehab facility for 30 days. They go in December, come out in January, and we won't even see those bills until February, March. So the trend is 1218, 1224. That's it. That's all I have. And thank goodness, because it's almost 9 o'clock. Mike.
I just want to clarify, I think what I've seen is that it's 12 months timely filing from the provider up to the TPA. That doesn't mean that the TPA has paid it in
That's right.
a time period. So there could be questioning and dispute and claim lag on the TPA side. We have a lot of things going on.
Correct.
It's just that the provider's got to get the claim in within 12 months.
So what MedTrans will do, and not all stop-loss carriers do this, is if we recognize a claim here and it's in dispute, we will honor it even if it's paid out here. Because as long as we recognize it and the dispute is for the benefit of MedTrans, we will pay for it, even if it's 6, 8 months down the road, 10 months down the road. Okay? Yes?
Any thought about, because there's some that exist out there, they call them like capitalist 12, 15, and perhaps these incremental changes from your 12, 15 to the 12, 18 to the 12, 24 could be allocated in there, and you really don't have claims that fall through the cracks.
You got to explain that one more time.
It's traditionally a 12, 15 contract, but if it does fall outside of that, it's still eligible because of the gapless provision, and there's a premium look for it.
Yeah, like a paid contract or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So we could do a lot of different things like that as well. It's what we want to make sure is the employer gets the most bang for their buck, really. And so the other thing too is, just to go back to this real quick. So one of the motivations for 1215 is it shortens what we call the treaty year. And when the treaty years are shortened, that means underwriting profits fall out of the captive faster, right? So one of the motivations for getting into a captive solution is, hey, I've earned $100,000 of profit in my captive. Well, if it's in a 1218, it's held for a longer period of time before it's released back to the members. So that's just another argument. So, okay. All good? Okay. Well, thank you guys. So what we're trying to do is like 5-minute break intervals. So we'll be back here by 9:15 or so for the next session. 9:10, somewhere around that area. Thank you.
Bill, what's in the other, you want to tell everybody what's next?
So
Because the room, it was confusing earlier.
So-
What's in here and what's over there?
the Medicare presentation is in this room, and the stop-loss policy intro is next room over there. Thank you.
I want to get into the captive structure later. We're going to have a
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the governance and so Jeff's session, Jeff and Gabby.
This is Thursday.
Yeah. So they're going to talk about the retrocession, all of the layers in this session. Yep. And
Kind of the basic mechanics of
that's it, yes.
All right. 'Cause I know that's what you really interested in.
Correct.
Okay. And this one is
So we've got a lot of Medicare eligibles on the plan that sometimes we want to find solutions on how do we educate them to get off the plan.
okay.
So,
Gotcha.
all right.
And what is Dave going to get into here?
What's that?
What's Dave going to get into here?
The 1218, the risk, no new laser type things. What's the market trends on stop loss? So, I mean, you know that. You don't need that. So,
Okay.
all right. What time is this session? 9:15. Okay.
Dennis is going to be in this room.
Dennis.
Dennis, 2-minute or whatever it said for night loss claimants, or no? Is that?
No, so use this schedule. So because Dennis canceled because
I didn't know that.
yes.
Got it.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Two questions. One, are you going to be able to send out the slides?
Yes, of course.
The other question I have is more about, so last night I know we were talking about how I
Hold on. Let me stop this.